I first learned about EBLI in August of 2011. I was on vacation with my family, and a family friend walked across the beach and said, "Heidi, have you ever heard of EBLI before?" And I said, "No, tell me more." And Gary said, "I'll be back tomorrow with my binder." And Gary came back the next day with his binder and said it's the most exciting thing that he's done because it gives him a systematic approach to teach reading across the content. I came home, approached a colleague of mine, and I said, "I don't know. They say it works." We went to a training and we tried it in December of 2011, and here we are. The EBLI journey begins.
Hear that. Now we're going to get rid of it and have too many ands here, okay? So sometimes it's all one word, uppercase S.
At first we were using it with our literacy coaches and helping struggling readers, and we started to see the benefits of it and how really it was helping us achieve our goals. Our goals at Madison are to have a self-contained classroom at every grade level where a teacher is forming a relationship with 24 kids. There's no switches, so they're not leaving to go to science or social studies.
When we first began our journey with EBLI, we started out with just sending a few teachers to training and expecting them to come back and implement it with fidelity. So about 3 years ago, we decided that it was so important that we train our teachers in EBLI. We dedicated all of our Title II funds to make this our major initiative for our whole elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade.
And it was difficult for me because I had been teaching reading for 10 years to first graders, and I knew what I was doing, and I was a good teacher. And after I left there, I realized that I had so much more to learn.
When I finally agreed to go, I actually attended the training by myself. So I was the only person from our district at the time. And on the way up there, I was still feeling skeptical, but I was like, just go open-minded. You'll be fine. You won't know anybody, so if you really don't like it, you'll be all right.
I learned about EBLI from our administration, more specifically Heidi Miller, who is our literacy coach, encouraged me to go. And at first, with all honesty, I was new and I kind of resisted a little bit, but I'm really glad that I went, so it's been a good experience.
I felt very confident as a reading teacher that what I was doing was very successful, and I didn't need EBLI, but I like I said, it's the number one, it's a tool that I use all the time. It's just the way we do it in our classroom now.
You feel at times how your students are going to be feeling, and I think that's really important. I know the students are going to at times be fearful of spelling a word or making a mistake, and honestly at the training I felt that same way at times, but if you'll take a chance and be willing to make a mistake, then it's pretty awesome when you can spell that big word that you never thought you could spell.
I think my mind shift switched from that whole language to the EBLI strategies really when I came back into the classroom and seeing it first and foremost with the students and seeing, especially with those visual learners, giving them that the sound lines and the syllable lines and everything, it just was starting to click for them. And I feel like that was the most powerful part that really changed my mindset, was when I was able to apply it with the students.
I guess one of the most rewarding times with EBLI is not when I'm teaching a whole group. They do get really excited when they're able to spell the big words and they learn the definitions, and then they see those words when we're reading together. But one of the most rewarding things is when I read with them individually and I see the progress.
This differed from other professional development because it held my hand for 3 solid days. It walked me through step by step. It wasn't just a kit.
EBLI has differed from a lot of other PDs in that it is so highly focused on delivering something to your students, to your teachers, that they will take to their students, and that it is embedded in what you do. You can embed it in your science, you can use it, you can infuse your social studies with EBLI strategies.
And it's not a canned program. It's a group of strategies that we can use and connect from classroom to classroom, from grade level to grade level.
As far as my instructional piece, I think Ebbly just gives me that explicit instruction as far as reading, spelling, and writing, and that's such a helpful tool, knowing how to teach it.
There's a consistency piece with Ebbly that I like a lot because my classroom is very structured, and with Ebbly, the strategies repeat, so it's nice that the students already know those routines. My students are more engaged, and part of that is because the engagement piece is built right into Ebbly. It's interactive.
And it's different because I think I don't just use it in the setting that it was intended for, teaching reading, but I use it in everything that I do almost all day long. My kindergartners are punctuating their sentences and putting spaces between their words and spelling things correctly, and they're proud of that.
Wood or stone, they were either shaped like a rectangle or like.
And at that time, we counseled each teacher before they went to the training and talked to them and made sure that they were committed and willing to bring it back.
When I talk to my teachers and say, think of it as a boot camp in your first month of school. This is how we learn in our classroom. This is how we learn vocabulary. Whether it's science, whether it's social studies, whether it's math, this is how we learn about words. Students are more confident when they know what's expected and how to learn. It's not, so offering the support throughout your entire system is critical.
In the changes in the school, we are a lot more cohesive. There's a lot more consistency, K-5, and probably even up in the middle school. I would think that those teachers are pretty impressed with the vocabulary, the ability to read and spell.
And that's when you really see the impacts of it, using it across subjects and using it kind of all day in the classroom.
I've noticed, particularly in my reading CBMs, my 1-minute reads, at the beginning of the school year, my students were at about a 56 percentile at benchmark. Now in January, when we assessed, we were at 70%. So I'm expecting by the end of the school year, we'll be close to 80% or even higher that have reached their benchmark as far as their 1-minute reads.
In my students, I noticed that they're really eager and willing to attack the big words that I thought, oh, we'll avoid those because that's too hard for this grade. But they're willing and they get excited when you can tell them that they have a multi-syllable word or they're going to write it or read it. And then they know how and they can wow their parents with it.
I had a particular student that came out of district, out of state, and he was reading at a 2nd grade level in September. When we assessed him again in January, he was almost near grade level. And a lot of that, I think, had to stem with that common language. We use it in our Tier 1 instruction. We're using Ebbly in our Tier 2 instruction and as well as Tier 3 because he does receive services for special education. So that alone, he may not have to, he may be graduating out of special ed now.
And I have loved it, and I have used it, and I see the power of it, and I love that kids are risk takers and that you can teach reading to anybody. And I've never felt the confidence that I'm a reading teacher, and I can teach anybody to read, no matter how old they are. And it's a confidence that I love that every teacher that comes to the stores are walking away with, because they now know that I can teach anybody to read because I have the skills and the strategies of what I need.